Is there anybody in your lives that there's like a limit on for the amount of time you can spend with them? Like after that time, it's over. No, you need a break. The limit for the time I can spend with the Banshee is 6 consecutive days, which she almost surpasses pretty much every week. But after 6 consecutive days, one of us has to die.
When someone meets my family, they inevitably ask, "How are you, you?" Why is that, you ask? Have I got a story for you?
You guys know about my mother's greatest fear. Now I'm going to tell you about the Banshee's greatest fear. Now, as you might expect, it has something to do with sound. So the Banshee's greatest fear is that she's deathly afraid of silence. Like sometimes you need like they say that without light there is no darkness and vice versa. Like there has to, for you to understand what the concept of light is, there has to be darkness. For for you guys to understand this, like there has to be silence in order for you to know what sound is. Like they're two halves of the same coin. That you need both of them for them to exist. Except in my sister's eyes, there can be no silence. Silence is evil, and you can't have it. And so that means at any given point, there can't be more than I'm gonna go with she can't have more than 7 milliseconds of silence. Someone has to be talking at all times. So she just talks and 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 talks. And then she gets mad that people don't want to listen to her, or is mad that people don't want to join in the conversation. But it's hard to join in a conversation when you don't have time to process things. Like, I don't have a filter, so I just say things out loud. Usually terrible things, but that's fine. Like, I don't have a filter. I don't think about it, but I still have to like process the idea of I'm about to speak. My sister doesn't do that. Banshee does not do that. She just keeps talking. And as you well know, she talks as if you're in her head. So the fact that you have no time to process anything that she's saying and she's given you no context will just make her angrier that you're not joining in the conversation. Because she'll be like, all right, here's a sample conversation that my sister will have with herself, because no one else is actually actively involved in the conversation because they don't have time to process or to think about anything. My sister would be like, you know my friend Steve? And pretty much all you can think of is, no, I don't know who that is, because my sister assumes that everyone she knows is someone you know, and therefore all of your friends are her friends. Life doesn't work that way. I'm just going to put that out there. But my sister assumes that you know exactly who she's talking about. So even if she knows like 35 Steves, you only have time to process, I don't know what Steve you're talking about, before she moves on to the next thing. So you'd be like, so you know my friend Steve? Outside yesterday, there was a car show, and then there was a plane up in the sky, and I wore red socks yesterday, but there was a time in my life where blue socks were the thing. And then there's that TV show I watched last week. Like, that's how my sister talks all the time. And if you like, if she's not actively part of a conversation that's going on, she has to join it. And as I've already explained, like when she asks questions, she yells the answer to the question at you, and the answer that she has come up with is wrong because she has no idea what the fuck she's talking about. Which is really infuriating when someone asks you seriously a question, and when you go to answer them, they're like, no, let me tell you the answer. But the answer is wrong. That makes the average person angry. But then she'll like get in your face and she'll be mad about it, about how she's right and you're wrong, even though she asked you, because she doesn't actually know, but she's going to tell you things about it anyway. Now, if you have watched previous episodes, you know I have a thing that my family and friends like to call carpolepsy, where I fall asleep in any moving vehicle. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to be 5 minutes into the trip. Doesn't matter. This is really awful for driving in the car with my sister, because she can't, they can't be silent. So she's got to keep talking to you. And she'll just keep talking to you and talking to you and talking to you and talking to you. And then I fall asleep. See, my sister can't have that. because even though, you know, she could still be talking to herself, no, the silence, for her version of silence to exist, it's, even if she's talking, someone has to be there to hear it. They don't have to process anything. They don't have to hear, they don't have to like understand the words or whatever, but somebody has to be there. Somebody has to be conscious for her to keep talking. So when I fall asleep in the car, she'll either start yelling at me to wake me up, or she'll shake me while I'm sleeping. And like, you know, when you're really tired, or like your body is like shutting down, and you're going, like, you're in the process of shutting down, like to go into unconsciousness, you're getting really tired and you can't really function anymore. I don't know if you guys have ever been in that situation, but if someone shakes you violently while you're in that situation, like when you're just about to leap over the precipice into nap time, like if someone shakes you violently awake and your body is forced to go into, you know, I'm going to say it's overtime at this point, you get really uncomfortable. Like it becomes painful to stay awake. Like you get a splitting headache. You can't think straight anymore. So I hate going in the car with my sister because she insists that I have to be awake the entire time so that she can talk to me about fucking nothing. And it makes car rides very, very terrible for me with her. So I guess in that case, my sweet mates can't say it's a defense mechanism, because then it just makes it so much more awful. We had a conversation this one time. We're in the car and she's talking and 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 talking. And I'm trying to ignore her. I go to sleep. She shakes me awake. I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. And I'm like, did you not notice the cues where I didn't answer? Like, that's cues for I don't want to talk. My sister also doesn't really understand social cues or much of anything at all, as evidenced by the pinnacle of ineptitude. But yeah, so she does that, and I'm like, why do you keep talking if nobody answers? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me that you would keep talking. And she turns to me and she's like, what do you mean? I tried to get you to talk. I kept talking. And I'm like, obviously it's not working. Give up. I don't understand what. No, I kept asking you questions. I was inviting you into the conversation. I didn't want to be there. You can't make someone talk to you. That's ridiculous. It's really silly when someone thinks that the way to get a conversation to go when it's not going is to just keep talking. She wonders why everyone's mad at her. She won't ever shut the fuck up. Just shh. Every once in a while, just shh. As you all well know by this point, especially as evidenced by me referring to my sister as the Banshee, she screams a lot. And there was this one time a couple months ago, there was like a couple down the street arguing with one another, and I was helping my sister get stuff out of the car for the dog because she has to bring the dog everywhere she goes. So anyway, I'm helping her get stuff out of the car, and she hears these people down the street arguing. And she's like, oh my God, they're so loud. Don't they know that they shouldn't be like this in public? And I almost dropped what I was carrying just to stare at her, like, fuck. The other infuriating thing about my sister is that not only does she not understand like social cues and what have you, she also thinks that, you know, everything that's on TV is real. She's one of those people, especially reality TV. She thinks it's reality. It's not. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but the Banshee does not have a home phone, so she comes here and uses our phone. She has a cell phone, but she still comes and uses our phone. She doesn't have TV at home, so she comes here to watch TV, which is also really annoying. She doesn't have internet at home, so she comes here to use the internet. So basically, it's like she lives here, which is so infuriating. But anyway, one of the things that's really annoying about her coming here to watch TV is that she really should not be allowed to watch TV because she cannot separate reality from reality. And she has a terrible fucking habit of doing whatever she sees on TV like a copycat. Like, I fear for the day she watches a TV show about serial killers because she'll probably start murdering people. Like, that's how impressionable she is. She's almost as impressionable as, like, a fucking toddler. It's basically like you have a toddler around when she's here. It's, I don't understand how she's made it this far in life at all. So, one of the things she really liked to watch was Auction Hunters. Now, while I guess technically it's reality TV, you know, on Auction Hunters they go to like auctions for whatever, and they fight over them, and then they sell the stuff. Now, my sister has absolutely no business sense at all. Like, when I say virtually no business sense at all, I mean it. I had to explain to her recently, like within the last month, that when you sell things on eBay, she was like, "Don't you just give it to them?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Well, when someone says they're going to buy it, then you give it to them, right?" And I'm like, "No. Why would I give someone... What? Huh? You ran a business. You just handed people stuff because they said they were going to buy it without them actually paying you? I don't... What? What? I don't... Huh? Doesn't understand how things work, what have you. So she watched a whole bunch of Auction Hunters, and she was like, "I'm going to go do auction hunting." So my sister goes to a land auction. Not even like on Auction Hunters and what have you. Usually they go to like a storage facility thing, and they fight over what's in the actual storage units. No, my sister goes to a land auction, and she's like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna win this auction." She wins an auction for like I don't know, like a 10-acre swamp. Like it's just a swamp. That's all it is. And she's like, "I got such a good deal." And the rest of us are like, "How the fuck would you know if it was a good deal or not?" I don't... What? Like, it's literally a swamp. When you drive past it, like, you can see like 4 trees, and then like water and mud. Just... So she wins the auction, whatever. She now owns a swamp, which is like down the street. It's a swamp. And, you know, we figured her purpose in buying said swamp would be, I don't know, she would like resell the land or something like they would do on Auction Hunters or something like that. Like, buy, sell. Buy, sell. No. The other TV show that my sister really fucking loved was Cake Boss. So she was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna open a bakery." And we're like, "The fuck?" Like, my sister bakes occasionally, yes, but I'm gonna open a bakery. We're like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "I own land already. That's where the bakery's going." And we're like, "In the water?" She's like, "No, I'm gonna put a building there." And we're like, in the water? In the tree? Huh? He's like, "No, I'm gonna get a building and it's gonna be a bakery." And we're like, "I don't think that's how that works." So she has to go, she's like, "I'll cut down the trees and then I'll put the building there." And we're like, again, I don't think that's how that works. So then she realizes, first of all, before she does anything, she needs permits. And she's like, "Well, it's my land. Why can't I do things with it?" And we're like, And then she's like, "Well, if I clear it out, I clear out the trees, okay. Then I put the building there." And they're like, "No, it's a swamp. You have to suck all the water out, or the building will be like..." And she's like, "All right, I'll cut down the trees." She still has no idea. To this day, she has no idea how to do that anyway. But "I'll cut down the trees. We'll drain the water. Bam, building." They're like, "No, you can't just put a building down. Like, you need a foundation, and you have to get permits and what have you." And she's like, "Oh my God, that's so much work, but it's my land." And we're like, So instead of, you know, randomly making a building, which she didn't even think about. I have to build the building, which costs money. She just thought buildings appeared out of fucking nowhere. Um, Instead of building the actual bakery, she's like, I got it. I'm going to go and I'll buy a place. So she ends up buying a cafe because she's changed her mind. She doesn't want a bakery. She wants a cafe. Except she runs the cafe as though it were a diner. Does everything a diner does, but calls it a cafe. She comes up with the most generic name possible because no one had thought of it before. And we're like, yeah, that's like, you don't say, take this for example. When you run a business, you want it to have like notoriety. You want people to understand what it is. You don't want it to be like when you go to a place for donuts. Well, I'm sure there's a business called the Donut Shop, or I'm sure there's a business also called Let's Go Get Donuts. You wouldn't call it that because then no one would know what you were talking about. Like when you go to a place for burgers, like Red Robin, McDonald's, if you want to call them burgers, Burger King, like those are all names. It's not like the burger place. Like it's just silly to give something a really generic name so no one can figure out what it is, or so no one knows you're speaking specifically about it. I just also, while she was getting ready to do all this, she started sending like everyone she knows emails, and she started calling us resources in the emails. And one day I pulled her aside. I'm like, you do realize this is your thing, not ours. We're not working for you. You're going to be working. And she got so fucking pissed when I told her that. And so she sent like a scathing email reply to everybody. And she's like, I want you to know that I'm not saying you're going to be working for me. I just think that you can help me on this. And I was like, basically, she just said the same thing twice. This is not going to end well. So fast forward to her running the cafe and whatever. She doesn't hire workers because she'd have to pay them. And she doesn't want to pay anybody. She doesn't want to pay any extra fees. So my family has to go in and work for her. But it's not working because we're family. And then she's fucking pissed because somebody, one of their customers or whatever, is like, you don't pay the people who work for you? And she's like, no, they're family. Why would I have to pay them? And they're like, so like the town gets involved and they're like, you really need to pay the people that work for you. Like that's a thing. When you own a business, you have employees and you pay them. So from then on, it's like, oh, they can't be family. So she tries to get her friends to come in and work for her for free. And she's like, well, you can have the tips. I mean, you can split the tips amongst yourselves. Like, no, when you run a business, you have to pay people. So like, I would end up being busy because I'd have to go in and work. So I made sure I wouldn't have to go in and work since she wouldn't take no for an answer. I just did stupid stuff. Yeah! Like, I don't understand how someone with zero business sense, business acumen, could think that they were just going to be like, bam! Cafe. Also, the funny thing is, probably the funniest thing by far is that the way the cafe was set up, she has since sold it, gotten rid of it because she wasn't doing well. She sold it to some other idiot, so she made back whatever she lost, which was actually very good on her part. But the thing about the cafe was, as you can imagine, you don't really want to be with my sister for long periods of time because she's always screaming for no reason. The way the cafe was set up was like you come in the door, there's like the seating area, you can go back, there's like a bathroom, and then you can walk into the kitchen, which takes up like, it's like a L Tetris block, kind of. And so there's like a door in the back, and then there's the counter, and then there was a half saloon door. So it's not even like a real door. And my sister would go back into the kitchen, and she'd start fucking screaming over nothing all the time, like all day long, like, he didn't give me money for coffee! In the back, which is not really the back because it's one room, and there's just a half saloon door. So she'd start fucking screaming her head off behind the saloon doors. And then she'd get mad when somebody else raised their voice outside. She'd be like, when I'm in the back, no one can hear me! Which is pretty much what happened every single day. I have no idea how she had return customers. Why would anyone go back to that place? So she thought that because she was behind a saloon door, no one could hear her. It's not even a real fucking door. There's like, this is air. She's so stupid. So she'd be in the back screaming all day long. I just can't. I can't fathom how she's made it this far in life at all. It doesn't make sense. No idea. She insists that she learned so much and she's so good at stuff at this point. And I'm just like, what? I have no idea how either of my sisters got anywhere in life. I don't understand. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Hey there, guys and gals. Thanks so much for watching, as always. If you liked what you saw, why don't you leave a like? And if you want to see more, you can sub. If you click the link on the left, you'll be taken to the previous episode. And if you click the link on the right, you'll be taken to a playlist where you can watch them all. Now, as you may have guessed, pretty much no one in my family has any idea how to get ready for anything in general. So let's we'll delve a little deeper in the next episode into how my mother gets people ready for things. It's almost as good as how she solves problems. Almost.